Good morning everyone, thank you so much for coming. Just to let you know, my name is Kenneth Bannerman. I'm the Director General, the founder and head of the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust, as we also call it for short by its initials ABCT. Essentially, we're the world's first national airfield charity, and you can see everything we do in our 3,000 page website. And one of the main things we do is that we erect commemorative memorials like we'll be doing very shortly here at Langley. Now, first of all, we're very honoured to have the Lady Mayor here, so you're very welcome to make whatever you'd like to say.
Good morning everyone. Good morning everyone.
That's it switched on.
Hello.
No, I'll get it for you. That's it now, okay.
Good morning everyone. Thank you for coming in this special occasion, and I would like to thank you to everyone who attended today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'll next pass you over to this gentleman beside me who has carried out many years of research into Langley Airfield. So he will now give you an excellent history of just this airfield from inception until when it closed. May I introduce Mr. Pete Trafford. Thank you very much.
That's all right, don't do that. Pray it's not raining. Thank you all so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. This means a hell of a lot to me, honestly. Just before we do the actual unveiling, I would just like to briefly describe what went on here, why this airfield is so important, and what we're doing here at the moment. Initially, back in 1936, Slough Borough Council published their plans to build a municipal aerodrome on the site of Parliament Park Farm, which is what this area was here. But there was a lot of public opinion against it, and unfortunately, they couldn't go ahead with the plan. 2 years later, with war on the horizon, the bigwigs in Whitehall stepped in, did a compulsory purchase order, and gave Hawker Aircraft Limited permission to buy the land and to build an aircraft factory and testing ground on this site. And this site was massive. It covered nearly 200 acres, and it stretched from Riching Parks Golf Course, if you know where that is, right down to the High Street, from the railway lines right to the M4. All that was the airfield. None of this existed. And on that site, they had 2 major aircraft factories. They had 5 repair hangars. They had 13 barrage balloon pads, concrete pads, flight sheds, recreation facilities, and 3 runways. 3. So Heathrow's got nothing on us. We've already got 3 runways. And you might like to know, you are actually standing on the second longest runway at Langley. Right here now was runway 1537. That's where you're standing right now. The factory finished in 1939. The first aircraft rolled off in September. The first flight was on the 26th of September, almost exactly 80 years ago to the day, which is why today is so special. Between 1939 and 1945, some of the finest strike aircraft were produced here and flown from here. And we're not talking just a few, we're talking thousands. And mainly the Hurricane, the Typhoon and the Tempest during the war years. To give you an example, just with the Hurricane alone, over 6,500 units were built here and flown from here. So if you take that into account, plus the Tempests and the Typhoons, you had a very, very busy airfield here and vitally important for the war effort. Right? So you have to remember that. Now those aircraft would go on to fight in every single theatre of war. They served the RAF, many Commonwealth Air Forces, and some even in Russia. So it's really, really important. After the war, aircraft production and flying still carried on here, but in a far lesser degree, with the new Tempest, the Fury and the Sea Fury. At that point in time, the airfield also helped herald in the jet age, when Hawker's P-1040 jet, which would become the Seahawk, was flight tested from here. It was also at that time that Hawker's opened up their facilities to new airlines and airline companies that needed a maintenance base before Heathrow was fully up and running. So we had the likes of Airflight, Fairflight, Airwork, Silver City Airlines, Skyways, and of course the big one, British South American Airways, were all here for some period of time. Now I want you to imagine what it must have been like. Those aircraft that they were using were bloody great big 4-engine bombers. They were the largest things that we had. Imagine the sights and the sounds of those taking you off and landing right where you are standing now. Those great big aircraft coming in. It must have been a fantastic sight, and I really wish I was here to see it. Right? So effectively in 1955, the airfield closed. Because of Heathrow, the airfield was becoming redundant. There were sporadic flights into 56, and parts of the Hawker Hunter were still made here in 1957, but that ended in July. That effectively ceased the usage of the airfield. So in effect, Hawker Aircraft Limited left, but Hawker Nuclear came in. And the flight sheds were turned into, believe it or not, a fully self-contained nuclear reactor testing facility for what was going to become our Polaris submarines. But that's another story. So I'm hoping you have an idea now of what went on here, how important this airfield was, not just during the war, but for British aviation in general. And as a resident of Langley, when Darren and I were doing the research here, we were dismayed to find out that very, very few people actually knew what went on here. And that to me was criminal. We had to do something about it, but I wasn't sure what. Thankfully, about 18 months ago, I read about an organisation called the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust and what they were doing throughout the country in restoring aviation heritage sites. I contacted them about 18 months ago, pleaded and begged about Langley to please consider us. Sure enough, thankfully, I got an email back saying they would take us on, and it's because of them that we are here today. It's because of Kenneth and the Trust and his people that they made this memorial that will now here stand forever, and people will never ever forget what went on here and how important this airfield was. So I'd just like to pass you over again to Kenneth, the founder of the Airfields of Great Britain. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you very much, Pete. An absolutely marvellous speech. Great. Now, just before we unveil the memorial, as we say to everyone else in our travels, looking at the big picture, just with the UK as a whole, just please do all you possibly can within reason to help honour, save, protect and preserve Britain's airfields, whether they are active or disused. They are enormously important in our everyday lives, and we just cannot remotely afford to lose these places. Now, as Peter's indicated in a way, people might say, well, what is there to see at Langley? Now, there are one or two scraps here and there if you know where to look, like say in the golf course, for example. But if you then take, for example, say the Worldwide Post Office Distribution Centre. Now this is all very relevant as well, because it's just really, as we say, jobs, facilities and services. And enough to say that if airfields theoretically never existed in this country, and this is going right back to 1909, our lives would be at the very least severely diminished, if not impoverished. So therefore, it is hugely in all of our interests to do all we can to remember these places and help save them, even if they're now long disused. And of course, not forgetting all the personnel who have served here. And for example, we're very honoured today to have the daughter of legendary World War II Pathfinder pilot Donald Bennett, who was based at Langley after World War II. So we're thrilled to have her, just along with all of you attending today, and we're very grateful for your attendance. And therefore, without further ado, we are extremely honoured to be able to unveil what is now ABCT's 159th memorial. We're hoping to get, say, about 200 by the end of this year with a bit of luck. We have memorials, by the way, fairly close by. You'll know the names. Heston, where we've got a special plaque there at the service station. Hounslow Heath, Britain's first airport, famously. And then also a little bit further away, Smith's Lawn, the polo ground in Windsor Great Park. They were all unveiled 3.5 years ago. And in that last case, Prince Philip actually unveiled the memorial because he partly learned to fly there. So, yes. Yes. So we're really honoured to be able to unveil our latest memorial to the one and only, the truly priceless Langley Airfield. Thank you all very much. Come on, get you stand here. Okay, we'll just hold you in there. Okay, just keep going.
3, 2, 1, hip.
Thank you again.
Mike, can I just say to everyone, I'm the local councillor for this ward. I really want to thank this gentleman because these are our community heroes. We stand here, but actually these are the heroes. I'm sure that took so much work on your part.
Yeah, a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years. And he said, and it's hard work. I really have no words to thank you. And for everyone coming here today, we can't forget what these men and women have done for us. It's because of them that we are here today. It's your father, isn't it? It's your father?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And there's another lady who's come from Binfield. And yourself?
My father was a test pilot here. Yeah.
Okay, and then there was another lady here as well who's come from Binfield, and she was there. You are, and she was saying her father might actually be in that photo. So I think we need to, say thank you to all of you for what you've done, but also take a moment just to applaud these heroes, and because of them, we are here today. So thank you all.
Thank you very much for that. Questions? No.